Turn on cable TV nowadays, and there are numerous shows about aspiring cooks trying to desperately be the next hot celebrity chef. Well, that was not the path of Gabrielle Hamilton, the acclaimed owner and chef of the restaurant Prune here in New York. She spent 20 years falling in and out of love of being a chef. Now, her journey is part of a new highly acclaimed book titled Blood, Bones, and Butter. It has drawn rave reviews from chefs Mario Batali and Anthony Bourdain, who even calls it the best chef memoir ever. That's quite an endorsement. And Gabrielle joins us now to talk about this book. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
This is very exciting. This is not what you would think of as your typical memoir. I mean, you really fell into becoming a chef. I mean, you want to be a writer, correct?
I never wanted to be in this business, trapped like a rat at a young age. But now I've really come to love it. But yeah, I come to it reluctantly. It was not an industry that I thought had much purpose or meaning for me when I was a younger person. Now that I own my own place, I think I've found that, but it took a while. It was a long journey.
How did you make that turn?
I think I was in the business for about 20-something years, and I was about to turn 35, and felt that I was in danger of living a life that I never intended. Because I got a job when I was 12 years old in a kitchen as a dishwasher, and then I've been there ever since. So I went away to graduate school to sort of pull the car off the road, so to speak. And I got back from graduate school, having scratched that itch, and opened a restaurant about 25 minutes later.
Are you serious? 25 minutes later?
Well, you know, in the scope of things.
Yeah, exactly. But in this book, I think what is so fascinating about it, too, aside from the fact that you kind of fell into this, is you are heartbreakingly honest about the complexity of your life, your relationships, especially with your family. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I wanted to write an honest book and tell the truth as I experience it, and it's actually not as revealing as I think people feel it is. It has a deceptive intimacy in that way.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I told my story, but I just told a small portion of it and left a lot of it out. And I tried to write a book that other people could relate to, that it wasn't just a me story, that it was a more universal story. So yes, anyone who's been married, anyone who has parents, anyone who has a complicated life that's not so straight and narrow, I think will relate.
Pretty much all of us, right?
I'd like to think.
What's the main thing about the complexity of these relationships that you really want the reader to take away? That
they are, what's that called, warts and all. That you know what I like so much about adult love as opposed to love of children or love of puppies is that it's difficult and complicated and still worth it.
Yeah, and messy and all those things. You're right about that. Well, but I will say you didn't divulge all of it, but what you did divulge was very, as I said, very honest. What was their reaction, these people in your life, your family, your husband, your mother-in-law?
Yeah. I sent the book to everyone who appears in it well before it was printed, and gave everyone the opportunity to vet. And my family's very proud of me. My husband thinks it's a great book. Yeah. My mother's proud. So.
Did it even say, no way, this has got to go? This one, really?
Well, I really didn't write poorly about anyone. I wrote of my experience of things, and I didn't write that kind of book, that sort of scandalous. Yeah. I took very gentle care of everyone who appears.
Warts and all.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the idea of being a reluctant chef, that's something that you don't hear about as much these days as we discuss, because there's a lot of them out there that just, really enjoy what they do. They want the world to see it. But you kind of fell into this. And that being the case, do you think you're unique in that way? Or do you think there are a lot of them out there that just kind of went along that same path?
No, I think it's a really coveted position now. Yeah. Parents send their children to expensive cooking schools, so it's a preferred profession. I think that the life of a chef is portrayed sometimes a little romantically, and that is not how I experience it. I think we have these sort of two camps now, where you're either in the kitchen where it's like you're all pirates and it's hot and you're working 42 hours a day, if there were such a thing. Or you're in this other kitchen where you just lovingly wash the lettuces by hand.
And which are you?
Neither.
Obviously from the book. But see, you initially wanted to be a writer, right? So did you have any idea that this kind of book right here would be the first book that you write?
When I opened my restaurant, I finally said goodbye to my long-held self-idea that I would be a writer and said, forget it, you're a cook. And a few weeks later, maybe 6 weeks later, I got my first professional writing job. I wrote an essay for a magazine. And I thought, oh, that's so funny. You know, you come to the fork in the road and you say goodbye to the one that you didn't take. And then later down the path, they reconverged. And did I know it would be this book? I had no idea, but I was excited to finally have the opportunity to write a book, which was a lifelong dream.
Isn't it funny how life sometimes just comes full circle that way?
I love it. It's I've never lived by much of a plan. You know, I sort of live intuitively, but it always works out.
Right. Okay, speaking of it always works out, this is your first book. What's going to be your next book? We're on to the next one.
I think I'm supposed to be complimented by that people are waiting for the next one.
Reviews,
it's
so
very
definitely
nice.
It's been complimented.
Well, right now I'm just going to stick to 3 jobs. You know,
Okay.
mothering, chef, owner, and leave the books aside.
Wonderful. Well, we have enjoyed it. Thanks so much for stopping by and giving us a little insight into the story behind the story.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Gabrielle Hamilton, thanks for being with us. And again, the book is titled Blood, Bones, and Butter, The Inadvertent Education of a Reluctant Chef.